Right, hello again. I'm having a bit of a lively day. It might be the lithium. I've been taking this lithium. It just makes me like, yeah, I feel like quite like good about it. It's not just the lithium. It's not like I just only take lithium. I just got a new form of magnesium as well. I've been taking that. Anyway, so I've got this idea. People like Kai Pacha mentioned this like fucking years ago, like 3 or 4 years ago. People need to start making their tribes, and this at the time, it's like I couldn't really see how I could do that. And I'm just starting to get this idea now that, like, yeah, we can create a tribe. And I'm just thinking, like, Journey, because it's got to be basically a holistic farm. You're going to have like animals, like you're going to have to move around because they eat different types of food. Like cows eat different types of food to goats and to sheep. Sheep like to eat nibble the very short grass. Goats will practically eat anything, and cows like the longer grass, and shrubbery and more leafier stuff. Um, Whereas goats will eat all sort of things that cows won't eat. Like probably things like thistles and brambles and stuff, and small trees and tree bark and that. Goats are terrible. You don't want too many goats on a farm, just like on a big farm. You want mainly cows, some sheep. So I'm thinking Johnny, the sheep man, it'd be like a sheep herder. He's gonna look after the sheep. That's what I would think. Whereas maybe Mind Ray Park would do the goats. Not too many goats, just a few. Now, hot retarded chicks, definitely like the cows. Quite look. He's a responsible guy. I'm sure he's someone who could take on lots of responsibility. So, looking after quite a big herd of cows. Me, I'd do the chickens. Who else have we got on there? Eve can do the pigs. I'm sure she'd like looking after some pigs. And then just as a basic, like just to get things going. It'd only be a few cows, like about 7 or 8, maybe 3 or 4, 2 or 3 goats, a couple of goats, maybe 5 sheep, and I would do about 20 chickens, I suppose, 25, 30 chickens to follow on after the other ones. After the you send the the cows in first, then the goats to sort of like get down, reduce down what the cows have left behind, and then the sheep to sort of trim everything down to like a small level, and then the chickens after that, they can dig up all the soil, and then the pigs after, last, or first, depending on how you look at it. You need quite a big farm, and then in the meantime, you want to be growing fruit trees. So on our days off, we're going to be growing fruit trees. The women, who's going to look after the women? Well, obviously, I'm going to do that as well. That's why chickens ain't going to take up any time, is it? Obviously, that's implicit. It doesn't take any time to look after chickens. All you other guys, you're all doing something that's going to take up all your time, and I'm the only one who's going to have any time free. So obviously, I'm going to have to run the harem. I mean, look after the women. I mean, it's obvious, isn't it? And I just thought of doing you a favour. You wouldn't have to look after them. I'll bear the brunt of that burden myself. So you can have a much more relaxed like lifestyle. And I would deal with all the stress because I'm used to it. I've got traumatic stress disorder. I'm used to dealing with stress, so I can deal with a whole herd of women. I mean harem. I mean bunch of women. Okay, and I'll let you. I'll let the difficult ones. You can, I'll let a few of them out now and again, so that you can have one of them. You can fight amongst them yourselves. And you can have your offspring, because we're going to need people. Assuming we're not going to live forever, we're going to need replacements. So we're going to have like a little Johnny, like a little baby Johnny, to sort of take the place of the old Johnny. And a little hot retarded chick's going to have to take the place, look after the cows, and learn how to look after the cows and that. Yeah. But I'm going to be looking after the women as well as the chickens. So just so you understand that. I don't want there to be any confusion. I'm taking on that responsibility myself, because I'm a good guy. I want you people to sort of like. Okay. Well, the thing is, HRC, I really appreciate that, and I'm pleased that you've come up. You've basically, you're not wasting no time. You're getting to the heart of the problem. You're dealing with stuff that really needs to be dealt with, and I totally respect you for that. You're obviously a good guy. The thing is, you're going to have to work for me first, and just deal with kind of like a sort of second-rate existence until we build up the funds so we can buy a new farm. And then what will happen is that you'll go and live on a different farm where you're going to be the guy who looks after the chickens, right? And you're going to train up your son or daughter that you're going to have, because I'm going to we'll make sure that you have to have some children. They're going to go and become the new HRC who looks after the cows, and you can look after the chickens and the women, and then you can be a full-time stud. But it will probably take at least 6 months before that will happen. You'll have to work for me for 6 months, at least 6 months, and possibly 7 or 8 months. It could go on for a longer than that even. So I want you to be prepared. Hope for the best, that it's only 5 or 6 months, but be prepared for the worst, that it could be 30 or 40 years maybe. I can't really see it going on for more than about 10 or 12 years. Probably only 5. I mean, if you really work hard and you do your job properly, it should only be 6 months. You'll just like move on to the next farm and you'll take over. That's how I want it to work. It could even be a few weeks. That's unlikely. But, let's try and think 6 months to 8 months. You're going to have to work for me and do what you're told. When you've learned your business, right, and you've had a child, that's going to take 9 months, isn't it? That's something you could start working on now, right? I really advise that you work on having the child now so that it's ready. Then everything else will just work in sync more, and you could slim it down to 3 or 4 months, even a few weeks if you get your business done quickly, or you've already got it in line, because this is going to happen quickly. I can tell. Of course, yeah. Drugs are not automatic weapons. Just between you and me, HRC, we're going to have to sort of try and keep a low profile when it comes to these things. But yeah, I totally agree. These things are extremely important, and but remember that the CIA are watching us, right? They're not very clever, so they won't actually probably latch on to what we're talking about now. So we need to keep it a bit low profile. So mention it to me maybe like only 2 or 3 times a day. Yeah. So I was thinking there's all kinds of other things. I mean, things I'm not that interested in, but I'm realizing that, you know, people could make a lot of money out of it and turn this whole process into quite a good business, like prostitutes, gambling. I'm just thinking they're just like two things that most people can relate to, and, you know, could make it work, you know. And marijuana, yeah. I mean, that goes without saying. I mean, I've been talking about this. It's going to take a bit of time for people to realise that although it sounds complicated, what I'm talking about, it's basically building a tribe. We want to build a tribe. So, you know, I'm thinking, to start with, I'll be the one looking after the chickens. You other guys and girls, whatever, you know, you look after the other animals. And in the meantime, we'll be growing a few vegetables, putting up a few fences and stuff, and also running a university. But the running of the university will be mainly, or the research institute will be mainly people observing what we're doing as our general building a community, you know. So one of the things about, you know, men working their optimum, they kind of want to have sex, like good quality sex, regularly, you know, at least a few times a week, you know, a handful of times a week, you know, and then they're going to be much more productive people, more happier, and, you know, communicate better, more productive, all that kind of thing. So it makes sense for the women, like what HRC said, to have like a bunch of women on hand whose basically complete responsibility in life is just to eat, stay healthy, maybe look after some plants, and really have a good sex with the guys on the farm as well, in the community, you know, to keep them happy and productive. It's also, it's like paradise. It just sounds like paradise. I mean, just I know it does, right? I just tell me, anyone, just tell me. Come on, comment down below, whatever, on the side. Just tell me the comments that's going to, why it's not going to be like paradise, right? You're going to get the good quality food. You're going to be eating like bee pollen and fillet steak and all kind of fresh vegetables and fruits and eggs and cheese and butter and fish. You know, all of the highest quality. You can't even find like the best quality hotels in the world. It's going to give you this same quality of like food, and a lifestyle is going to keep you young and healthy and virile, you know. See, the thing is, the reason I'm going to talk about this, because it's a great thing to talk about. The more I talk about it and think about it, the more likely it is to happen, you know. So I'm just thinking of like all these like nice pools of water with like, some have got carp, some have got like trout, you know, they've got big cannabis plants leaning over them that's dropping seeds in, and hazelnut like trees that's dropping hazelnuts in. You know, you're going to have like a gym, you know, so people are like, and people that there are people now, right, who you can train people, so they can just look at you and they can tell what exercises are going to most benefit you because of your posture. So you have people, you want someone like that who knows this stuff, and also they can train other people while you're there. They won't just be like helping you like a doctor helps a patient. They will be training you as well to understand how the posture works, what you need to do. You'll be working in smallish groups, but where everybody's probably got different problems, and everyone can learn by the way that the lesson is orchestrated, so everybody learns it, and then they can go off to different places and start new farms, new communities. And so it's the beginning is going to be the difficult bit. Okay, I see that. I just see that a trigger word. It says Queen Bee Nightly. That's a trigger word for me over in the live chat. I've just got to quickly check it out because I've been triggered. Yeah. Oh, you're so ahead of me, HRC. I mean, you're right on track. Stop. Don't let females learn how to read. You know, this is almost the closest anyone's ever come to talking to me about the written word in a way that I can really relate to. It's like a breakthrough. It's like the sun has just suddenly come through the clouds, and it's like I feel like Noah. You know, I'm on my own in my little ark with all my dirty little animals, and suddenly a little bit of sun has come through the clouds, and like the future seems like it's saved. Only a bit like that, you know, not too much, just a little bit, you know. What else have we got here? Okay, we should forbid them to speak, but they're allowed to make noises. I think that's quite important, that they can make noises still. Well, if you want to keep Queen Bee Nightly as your dog, I mean, I would go along with that, but I don't think Queen Bee Nightly would. She can be really unreasonable. This is what I've noticed, you know. This is one of the reasons I unsubscribed from her channels. She was just so unreasonable, you know. I mean, it seems like a perfectly reasonable idea what you're suggesting, but I just know I feel like I know Queen Bee Nightly better than I would like to. And I just feel that she probably wouldn't agree to something like that just because she's like perversely unreasonable, you know. It doesn't make sense. You know what some women are like, you know, they say that they're illogical. It's illogical that she wouldn't want to be your dog, but I think that that's probably what she would do. And I don't think she's the only woman who would do that. There are other women that would behave just as irrationally. I mean, I would be your dog if you know, if I was a woman. I wouldn't even think twice about it. Oh, I mean, what else have you got here? Yeah, exactly. They can make animal noises. Exactly. I mean, they do anyway. I mean, that's all I ever really hear from women is animal noises. So, of course, they have to be allowed to carry on making animal noises. It's just that, yeah, they shouldn't be allowed to actually speak. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, that kind of thing. That's fine. They can make animal noises. I don't know about the moo though. That sounds a bit human. I think that sounds a bit like speaking. The oink, I think that's okay. That's permissible. But the moo and the moo, no, I wouldn't allow that. Actually, if it was up to me, I would say no. I would probably burn them at the stake if they made moo noises, just to be on the safe side, you know. So yeah, only oinks. Yeah, that's right. I mean, oinking can't really be misunderstood, whereas mooing, well, I'm pretty sure that could be misunderstood. I almost had it myself, you know. If I didn't have such an enormously high IQ, then I probably might have been deceived. So I just have to err on the side of caution in terms of like looking after all those other people that have got lower IQs than people like me, which is virtually everyone. So yeah, no moves, just oinks. That will be fine. Which is basically not really much different for how things are at the moment anyway. I think I've only heard a woman speak to me once. Only once. And it was a nice thing. So I tended to want to forgive her for it. And she was smiling as well. So it was only the one time. And so I think they're not really genuinely all that bad. It's kind of just like God's made a mistake. That's all it is. You know, just God made a bit of a silly mistake. Anyone could have made a mistake like this. You know, they look fine a lot of the time. They look okay. But, you know, they seem to work okay. They do what they're supposed to do a lot of the time. Some of the time, you know, most of the time, it seems. It's just they're not at all satisfying. You know, that's the problem. And this seems like an obvious error in hindsight. But maybe God just doesn't have the ability to go back and redo stuff, you know, or he's just too busy. He's probably too busy answering people's prayers and stuff to be bothered to come back and sort out just what probably to him seems like a minor problem, you know. You know, the fact that men just get desperate enough to sort of like eventually mate with women because they just don't see any alternative, you know, life is too bleak, you know, and they get a little bit of satisfaction from having children. But most of the time, all that satisfaction is totally obliterated for the fact that they're having to live with these women that don't understand them and that don't, you know, are just generally dangerous in terms of like their ability to mimic language so successfully and confuse men and deceive them. And although I'm sure there's many different like techniques have been tried, nothing so far has been found to be able to like disable women's ability to deceive men. You know, even though it's not really their intention, they just can't help themselves and make us into their sort of like bitches. So I'm sure there's something to be happy about here. I made a recent video earlier on today about happiness, and there are some really interesting things, you know, about happiness, like being happy now, and you can quite easily create reasons to be happy and find happiness in your present circumstances. And I've been like a bit stupid. The reason I've had difficulties and I've got so much grey hair probably and smoke and drink is because I've allowed myself to think about negative things. I mean, it takes practice. When you're like used to having to, if you've grown up in a difficult childhood, right, and you're having to think about negative things because negative things are happening all around you, right? So you're thinking about negative things because they're happening all around you. That's all you're being stimulated with. Now, it's not always like that. I mean, of course, I've been getting negative like impulses a lot when I'm a child, but it's not all negative. There are some positive things. It's just the negative things, they tend to sort of often take more prominence in your mind, in your consciousness, so that they seem to be more important. And then because you're focusing on them more, I just watched a video about this. This is not my own work, you know. I'm just basically parroting what I saw in a video like a few hours ago. Because you're like repeating this, these thoughts of what all these like things you've perceived and you've been stimulated with, and you think about them. That creates like a sort of feedback loop. I think that's my way of explaining it. I'm sure the guy in the video didn't mention feedback loops at all, but that's just how I understood it. Once you start thinking about it, it becomes more important, and because it's like there's emotions connected with it, so you become like you associate those emotions with the thing that happened, and then when you think about it, you relive it. Your body releases the same chemicals, but you're also imagining a worst case scenario, right? And then so your body releases even more of those nasty chemicals that, like, when you're thinking about it, of what the worst case scenario, and then it trains your body to sort of be prepared for more and more worst case scenarios. And each time you think about it, your body releases all these chemicals that make you feel really shit, you know. And so it's like and it's like there's no way out of it. It's like a trap. You just like certain bad things happen to you, and it's like a downward spiral. So how can you stop it? Ah, dear. Well, there is cannabis and marijuana. As someone's already mentioned, HRC, yeah, marijuana, it's right there. I can point to it in the live chat. So he's already got the answer there. Exactly, yeah. Well, trauma rewires the brain. Yeah, and the thing is, yeah, your muscles, remember, HRC just pointed out, it's a physical thing as well. Your muscle memory, like your muscles remember the way you felt. When you produce all these like hormones and fear chemicals and stuff in your brain, your body reacts in a certain way. And then your muscles remember those memories. And because it's the way muscles work, they're not like the brain, they're not very intelligent. So they don't really know that those memories and those experiences are bad experiences. They don't think of it like that, and they're to be avoided. That's all they've got. If you've had a very traumatic childhood, your muscle memory is full of memories that are really negative for it. So when it goes to like look at its memories, it sees these things. They're like traumatic, jolting. They stimulate memories going back into the brain, and it creates like a cascading feedback loop that just goes backwards and forwards and keeps amplifying all the negative chemicals and emotions that go with these trauma experiences. This is what happens to people that have got traumatic stress disorder. The reason it's like a problem and they can't get over it is because it creates a feedback loop that just keeps getting bigger and more powerful. And it's very, very difficult to sort of like, if you don't know what you're doing, if you haven't got the knowledge, it's very difficult, almost impossible to stop this from happening. This sort of like feedback loop. It's like an energy sort of like going backwards and forwards. It's like a yo-yo or a pendulum just swinging. You can't stop it. It's got too much power. The weight of emotion behind it is so powerful that your conscious mind doesn't know how to stop it. So you get dragged along with it. This can be how people become bipolar as well, like following these like this pendulum sort of effect, or or traumatic stress disorder where you feel like you've got no control over what's happening to you. you know, because these, like all these chemicals, you keep being compelled to think about these traumatic things over and over again, and each time you do, the chemicals get released into your body and make you feel like you're experiencing that traumatic thing over and over again, every day, over and over again. It can be, and it becomes like it stops you having a life. It's like being tortured all the time. So therefore it's hard to talk about, because as soon as you talk about it, you invite like the worst possible attack of PTSD. You know, it's like, this is what, and this is why I fucking, part of me totally despises the bureaucrats that have put in place this school system that they know causes PTSD. And the problem with PTSD, from someone who's experiencing it, is that when you're forced to think about it, which is what is going to happen if you have to go to the doctor, right, and talk about it and try and get some help, is that you have to go through the worst kind of like possible attack of PTSD, right? Which means that it's almost inevitable that in the future you're going to have even more worse types of PTSD attacks that are just going to go on and on, getting worse and worse and worse. So it's really, really, really fucking hard to go to talk to a doctor in the first place about the PTSD that's caused from the school system, right? It's incredibly difficult, and the vast majority of time, virtually every time I've tried, I've got no help at all. And it just is, so it caused me to have another attack of PTSD, right? Even worse than any I've had before, and to set me up for having even more intense and like debilitating attacks of PTSD every time I think about going to talk to the doctor. And I have to, because I'm on job seekers allowance, and they're expecting me to go and look for work, and I know I can't work because I've got PTSD caused from the school system. So I think about it hundreds of times each day. So I'm getting all these like chemical releases from my brain that's making my body into a fucking nightmare and a hell. And when it takes, like, after 2 or 3 years of trying to build up a sort of like immunity to my own body like attacking me, because I have to keep thinking about these things to try and get through to so I know what to say to the doctor. And even then, when you go to the doctor, it's like trying to play chess with a chess expert who knows all the rules and all the openings, and they can just crush you in a few seconds. And no matter what you do, you can never get anywhere near being able to sort of win an argument with them and explain to them what's going on. They're not listening, and they're just going to crush you like a little insect. And that creates, so after decades of this, I've decided there's absolutely no point going to the doctors. I'll have to deal with this all myself. I have to take total responsibility for all the shit that you evil people have caused me, you know, by forcing a system of schooling onto me that can only do me severe harm. So this is the thing I do. By taking absolute responsibility for it, I also take all the power. And, you know, I have to look at you. I know you'll think of yourselves as individuals, but when you consistently act as one entity, I'm prepared to take the gamble, the risk, that's what you are. Ultimately, you aren't individuals. You're just all one entity, all one matrix. If that's how you consistently act, then I will take the risk and treat you like that. So when I put my hand up and say no, it applies to everyone, not just the people who watch my videos, but everyone, all people. There are no exceptions. And if you are outside of the matrix, then I would expect you to be able to deal with the fact that I'm just merely saying No, it doesn't harm you. But with people in the matrix, maybe it will harm them, because it's like they don't know how to respond. They can't cope with no. From people like me, they can't cope with it. Another interesting thing about the work and the way my videos are going and stuff, it's like I feel like I've got loads of stuff to do. I was concentrating on making videos for a while, and then I had a break because my computer went a bit messed up and I couldn't figure out how to make videos. And now I'm making videos, and now my voice is out of sync with my my visuals on every video that I make. I don't know how to fix it, but I need to. There's loads and loads of stuff that I need to do, which I'm really glad that I've got all this stuff now, like a whole load of work ahead of me. I've got loads of stuff to do, and I feel like I'm getting younger, and doing the work is helping me get younger, so to me it's all looking good. I see how few people are sort of like latching onto this stuff. There's probably a lot more people than I can see, because I've talked to people in like the real world, not on the internet, but on the real world, who are like about this stuff, and not even many people about all this like biohacking and like getting your life sorted out, and people are buying into it, so it's looking like it's going somewhere. I know I'm not going to build my hopes up. I'll suggest to you, don't build your hopes up. You know what people are like. They can be pretty fickle. Anyway, I like this idea of like UHRC. Yeah, that's probably true. I mean, I had a difficult birth. I felt like I was nearly dying. I had to claw my way out of my mum's vagina, and she never really forgave me, But the thing is, she was lying in a really terrible position on her back. Every time I was getting nearly out of the womb, like out of the vagina, like just starting to break through, she would take a big like mouthful of gas and air, like nitrous oxide, and make all my muscles go all relaxed, and I'd slip back into the womb again, because all her muscles would relax, my muscles would relax, and I just the pressure that all the work that I've done to get out would be totally just voided, and I would be pushed back into the womb and have to start all over again. And it went on about 3 or 4 times, and I just thought, if I can't get out this time, I ain't going to get out. I won't have the energy. I'm running out of energy. It's using up all the energy in my body. And every time I nearly get out, and I was taking a lot of care, not to. I'm self-aware. I'm not just like a fucking animal. I'm aware that I'm coming out the womb, and I need to be careful. So I was taking a great deal of care, and trying to like hold. But after about the 3rd or 4th time that she'd taken a big load of gas and air and forced me back into the womb, it's like I just panicked, and I started digging my fucking claws in, because you haven't had you've got little fingernails, and they haven't like been cut for a few months, so they're like little claws, and you can dig your way out, and I fucking dug my fucking claws in and pulled and dragged my way out, using my mum's flesh as a sort of like something to sort of dig my claws into. And so I'd done a bit of damage on the way out. There was quite, a fair amount of blood. But if I hadn't done that, I probably would have died. I felt like I was going to die. Hi, Shiny Beast. Nice to see you. Yeah, it is fucking stubborn. And so you have to basically, what I think, it's like you. A lot of people have got this, and a lot of people have probably given up and have decided that it can't be cured. That's what the people that developed the system, our school system, the German military in the 1880s concluded. It's irreversible trauma, they called it. So it can't be reversed. But I'd like to sort of like think that it probably can. Everything's possible, and believing that it's possible gives you a big advantage to sort of finding a cure. If you believe that it's not possible, you're not even going to look in what areas. And I mean, it depends how you define a cure as well. If you can make your life enjoyable and satisfying, that really basically is kind of like a cure. If you can stop having serious attacks of PTSD where you feel like you're in a war zone and anything could just explode in front of you at any moment, then if you can avoid that for like, I don't know, a couple of decades, you can probably say that you're cured, If you can confront, almost any situation without having an attack, even though they're potentially quite stressful, you're probably cured. I'm pretty sure that can happen. It takes like a lot of work. You've got to be like a stream, like your life has got to be like a stream, like water wearing down, or like a rock, gradually wearing it down. It might be stubborn, it might just be there and really persistent, but you've got to just keep at it. Really like humble, constant, like flowing energy that just flows over the top of it and smooths it down until it's instead of being a big rock, it just becomes a little pebble, a little flat pebble that doesn't impede you in any way. Just you can ignore it. It's still there. You can maybe never get rid of it completely, but you can like wear it down. You can take away its power, and create a sense of harmony. And it can also be effectively a good thing, because it will be a constant reminder of reality and how bad things can get if you don't fucking stay on top of things, or if you allow the world to sort of like fuck with your children. One of the things about what I've been talking about lately is this setting up a community. We need to set up a community where the written word is optional, right? The children don't have to learn the written word unless they want to. That's a start going in the right direction. We have to create a situation where people have got more free will and they've got better food and more options and a better lifestyle. People around them that are like want to be happy and live and eat the best food, and find ways to get the best out of life, and have healthy communities. I've never known. I don't know what a healthy community is because I've never been around one. I don't know what one is. I know they do exist because you can see studies. Like people in Okinawa and Sardinia, these blue areas where people live a long time. They have a really strong sense of community. They eat really good food, and basically anyone could do this. But we've got so many stupid laws. We've got all these bureaucrats controlling our lives and organizing our lives in really stupid ways that stop us living naturally and stop us being healthy. They're real fucking monsters, and we need to get rid of them. We need to get rid of the written word and bureaucrats. And one way of starting to do this is doing a research institute where you can see the benefits. We study the benefits of children that grow up in a sustainable, holistic, managed community where they have an option to have the written word, and see what level of things like mental health happen, and obesity and things like this, and diabetes, cancer. See what the comparison is between these places and where everyone else is living in like modern society. And what do you find out? Well, I know what we'll find out is that these places, these people will be a lot healthier. They'll be a lot more conscious and responsible. They will be much better people. It will be like they have souls compared to people that are brought up in regular society. That's what will happen. It's kind of inevitable. Still, what I think is that more and more people, if you set up a community like this, and like as a research institute, like a sort of like an artificial like village that's designed to be sustainable, and it's just got the right balance of technology and like natural living, so that it's not only sustainable, but it's like adding value to all life on Earth. I mean, to me, I can see this. This is totally possible. It's like I can see it very clearly with my right brain. My left brain I'm allowing it to travel into my right brain consciousness and like do a lot of research, and then come back and then look at it all. It's like heaven is at hand. The word, that little sentence in the Bible when Jesus says heaven is at hand, that comes to mind because it's straightforward. We have all the knowledge, we have all the technology. One of the things we would have to make, the little adjustments we'd have to make, is to make the written word optional for children. You can't force it onto them. That's unconscionable. So unless you was to do that, the system, it wouldn't work. You have to make the written word optional. It's absolutely essential. You couldn't do something like this and make it work effectively unless you made the written word optional. It's absolutely essential, as far as I can tell. I've I'm a little bit uncomfortable about people getting onto this like bureaucratic minded people, left brain people, like infiltrating a movement like this, and then like steering it into sort of bureaucratic areas. So it will be easy then for these left brain people to pounce on it and take it over. That thing has to be like protected against at all costs. That's the whole point of the research institute. It has to make the written word optional for children born in the system. Because anything else would be like abuse. The way I see it, forcing children to learn the written word is forcing them to do something that is totally unnatural. It's just the same as rape, or torture. It's no different from raping a little child or torturing them. And the more people won't talk to me about this, the more I'm convinced of it. And the more I'm totally sure that that's how it must be, and that you're all in denial about it, because you're all behaving. You're exhibiting classic symptoms of denial and group denial. That's what you people are doing. You're exhibiting absolutely classic symptoms of being in denial, in especially as a group. That's how I know I'm right. So I'm grateful for you people in your denial. Gives me a nice breathing space. So I could just think, oh, it doesn't matter what I say to these people. They're never going to hear what I'm saying. They're all in denial. Not surprisingly, because what's happened to them is really nasty. What people in like left brain consciousness become monsters. They're like orcs, like the orcs from Lord of the Rings, right? Or the Borg from Star Trek, or Agent Smith when he sort of like takes over everyone and everyone becomes Agent Smith. It's all the same kind of thing. You become monsters and you don't even realize it's happening to you. Okay, let me just deal with this quickly. As long as we're dependent on agriculture for sustenance, we'll be slaves. See, as far as I'm concerned, people are dependent on the written word more than they are dependent on agriculture. Although it doesn't seem like that, it seems like what I'm saying is like it's like a joke. But I'm not dependent on my own agriculture. Maybe I need, I can get food from the wild, for example. In theory, I can't live without the written word. I'm more dependent on the written word than I am on agriculture. The rest of the people in the world, they won't allow me to live without the written word. I can't just go and build a house in the wild. People who are like written word people, left brain people, will just come and stop me. I mean, maybe I could go like into like a very, very, very distant place that I don't even know exists. In theory, I could go like into the deep forests of Russia, or the Amazon or something like that, and I could possibly live, but the logistics, I'd need to use the written word to get transport there. So I can't do it without the written word. And where I live, there's no options available. I can't live in the wild. There is no wild. There is no wild where I live. It's everywhere is controlled and overseen and watched over by people, left brain people, bureaucrats that are controlled by bureaucrats. We're totally dependent on it, just like the worst sort of drug addicts and the worst sort of alcoholics. They can't go a day without their drugs. That's what you're all like to me. You're the worst kind of drug addicts. You're completely in denial. Agriculture can be done in harmony with nature. You can have holistic managed areas. That's how we've evolved. We've evolved to live like cut down some trees, create a bit of pasture, herd a few cows around the pastures, a few different pastures, and those areas attract other animals like deer to come and graze those areas, because they're nice, like gardens. They're like gardens. Humans naturally create gardens, just in the same way that otters create little lakes. Was it beavers? Beavers, they create like little, dams. So they can, oh shit. Right, that's it. I've had enough now. I've knocked my beer over. Right. just feel like I'm talking to like people that like are left brain. Anyone who's in a computer who doesn't talk about this stuff is basically left brained. You don't, and you don't understand that the left brain is self-justifying. It uses its own arguments to justify itself, and it doesn't ever hear anyone else's arguments, especially when they come from the right brain, who sees the big picture. They see that as like a fearful thing, like that's. You could read Carlos Castaneda's books, like in there they talk about the right brain, like as the nagel, the nugget, the nawal, and like the sorcerer. You can try when you know this stuff, right? You can try however hard you fucking like trying to explain this stuff to the majority of people who are left-brained, right? And you can't make any progress at all. You just fucking can't. It's like they can't hear what you're saying. It doesn't matter how hard you fucking try. They're like dumb animals. You're like dumb animals. You're not even listening. Your ears aren't plugged in. You know, this is the problem. It's like you're not trying to fucking listen. You don't even understand what it means to listen and to take notice. You don't understand it somehow. And I'm at one of the things about doing the work, I'm having to process how to spend my time. Now, trying to get people to understand about the left and right side of the brain and about the written word seems to be like a fool's errand. I'm never going to be able to, according to how things are going so far, I'm never going to be able to get anyone to understand. It's just never going to happen. So I have to. I'm just going to give up. And then anything less than that would be like throwing my life away. It'd be like giving up. So I'm going to have to do other things with my life rather than make videos, because everyone's got their ears closed and their eyes shut. So making videos is a waste of time. I need to learn how to make a cattle prod. You know, metaphorically speaking, you know, if words and videos don't work, maybe a cattle prod, maybe that will work. If you're going to act like cattle, then how do you control cattle and manipulate them? Cattle prods, strong electric energy delivered into the chest or the nose or something, that will do the job. That will make them react. Okay. Okay, well, thanks for like all your helpful behavior that has like enabled me to come to a reasonably definite conclusion about how I need to structure the rest of my life and how do I now the way I need to interact with you people from now on in. Okay, nice to see you, Shiny Beast. Nice to see you, HRC. Thanks. Bye. It's supposed to end now. Why isn't it ending?